Welcome back to the Dog Guru. I'm Victoria, your host, and today we're talking about how to best add a furry member to your family. A lot of people will tell you adopt, don't shop, and I want to offer perspectives on both sides of the spectrum because I'm actually supportive of both. While I definitely see the benefits to adopting, I myself have done both. I've adopted, I've worked with rescues, and I've, quote, shopped. And really, the context has a lot to do with your family dynamic. Not everybody has the time it's going to take to retrain what's already there in a rescue situation. Yes, of course, there are puppies available that you can start fresh, but some people are looking for specific characteristics in a dog, and they want to know a little bit more of the history. And in that sort of context, you have to first make your ideal list. What is it that you want to see? What is it that's important to your family? Do you want a super active dog that's going to be dropping a tennis ball in your lap every 10 seconds? Or do you need a dog that when you're gone during the day can kind of just chill out, relax, and mind his own business without tearing your place apart? Then there are things to consider like breed. Now, I know that there are a million different breeds out there and hybrids that people fall in love with, but what they may not be thinking of or accounting for are the characteristics of the breed they chose. For example, Huskies are pretty well known for pulling. This can be not an issue at all if you're rollerblading, if that's even still a thing, and you want to be dragged down the road, or perhaps you feel like being pulled around on a skateboard. Then perfect, you found your match. But most people are thinking in terms of family, especially, oh, well, I want my child to be able to walk the dog. Well, first of all, I'm going to tell you as a trainer, that's probably not a great idea, and I'll get into why in a second. The other thing you need to think about is maneuverability and manageability. If you have a dog that has an excessive amount of energy, they need an outlet for that energy. And if they don't get it, your house is going to be that outlet, whether or not you approve. I've seen a lot of anxiety-based behaviors develop and even aggressive behaviors develop due to frustration and lack of exercise. So that's the first thing you want to take into account. The next thing you want to think about is what your timeline is. Do you want to do some research, which I always recommend, before getting a puppy or an adult dog? Great. You can kind of narrow down your ideal breeds if you have an idea of what you need for your family. If you want a sedentary dog, bulldogs are great for that. If you want something that's really easy to train and has a high level of intensity and energy, border collies could be your thing, or Australian shepherds. Those are both strong working breeds. So they both have a high level of trainability, but with that comes the responsibility of having to entertain their minds. So that's a bit of food for thought. The next thing I want you to think about before getting on board with a dog is, are you really expecting your child to be the caregiver of this dog? If the answer is yes, skip the idea entirely. Nobody wants to be a guinea pig, including your new dog. Reality being what it is, kids lose interest in things, they get busy with their own daily activities like soccer or ballet or whatever it is they do with their time. So you need to get real with yourself. You need to realize that when you get a dog, it's a family pet. You need to be ready to be caregiver, walk the dog, feed the dog, train the dog, pay for the dog, all things dog. You need to have a level of investment right from the start because chances are you're going to be saddled with the work. So if that doesn't sound like it's something you're interested in, I would just put the idea of having a dog on the back burner for a little while. Timmy and Shelly will be just fine without a new puppy, and you might be saner and a better mom that way. But if you've thought about all this and you're still on board with getting a dog, then I say more power to you and figure out what you need. If you have a dog, or you're trying to get a dog, for a purpose of, say, service dog work, that's a very high standard to reach. You can't just take any dog off the street and teach them to a level of accountability like a service dog. It takes a lot of a screening process. I've raised a foster myself, and he ended up being an extremely well-trained dog, but he wasn't actually suited for service work. His main problem was he liked everybody, which meant he couldn't stay task-oriented. So I had to be really realistic, and we ended up having a good ending to the story. We found him a lovely home with a great family who love and adore him and he can love on the kids all he wants. But my point in saying all of this is know what your family goals are or your personal goals are for this dog, and then start looking into options. So let's talk a little bit about why I recommend rescuing. I recommend rescuing because yes, you're saving a life. Plus, those dogs need somewhere to go. I mean, the reality is that dogs are generally overpopulated. It's not actually the fault of breeders, though, which it bothers me when people say things like that, because bad breeders are the reason that we have overpopulation. And then backyard breeders, which are people that just put cute dogs together, or maybe not even cute dogs together, and start creating loads and loads of puppies. And those people don't fix their dog. And then they ended up repopulating and having puppies. And the cycle just grows and grows and grows. One of the things I really like about rescue, though, is you're supporting an organization that is always trying to reach out and find dogs in need and find homes for them. And they often have a screening process. So if you are not a candidate for that individual dog, typically they'll tell you so, or they'll try and fit you with another dog that they have in the program, or just keep your information on file so that when something comes available, they can give you a call up and say, hey, I think we have the perfect fit. Why don't you come in and do a meet and greet? Meet and greets are a really good opportunity to see if their personalities gel and if they don't, and be really honest about that. Because if you see that Sparky isn't getting along with the new potential housemate, then be really honest with yourself and say, you know what, this is probably not the best fit for us. Another great way to find out if this dog is a good fit for you is go ahead and ask if you can foster it. A lot of rescues are open to that, and they offer resources like training tips or trainers. I know in my case, I offered my skill set to the dog. So this way, even if I had to turn them back to the rescue and it turned out to not be a good fit for my family, I then made the dog easier to home. He knew how to be potty trained. He knew how to answer to a name. He knew how to learn, which is a really crucial stage in training. And he was ready to be in his new home because he was already familiar with that sort of living space. Okay, so now I want to talk about the benefits of going through a breeder. And I think at the top of my list of reasons to go with a breeder would be knowing the history of the dog and the parents of the dog and having a great resource. You know, breeders are typically very knowledgeable. They're really easy to talk to in a lot of cases. And whether the dog is 8 weeks or 8 years, you can always shoot them a text or call them and they can answer all of your questions because they already know the lineage of that dog. The other reason I like recommending going to breeders is if you have specific characteristics that you want to avoid or characteristics that you for sure want to have. A breeder will know right off if one of the puppies in their litter has those characteristics or if the parents carry those characteristics, which would make it more likely that one of their puppies would, or maybe even a series of their puppies. So a breeder's main goal is to find a forever home, the right home, a lot like rescues. A really good breeder is going to go through all the bells and whistles. They're going to evaluate temperament, structure, health quality, and anything in between that could be relevant to their owners. And a lot of them have a pretty extensive screening process. So be prepared to answer lots of questions to find out if you guys are a fit. I think an obvious answer also as to why you would go with a breeder is because maybe you've got a breed in mind. Maybe you've had golden retrievers your whole life and you love the breed. Or maybe you've always wanted a French bulldog, which is what I have, one of my dogs. My rescue is half Australian Shepherd and half Pit Bull, and two really motivated breeds put together means lots of training was involved. But just don't fall into that stigma of adopt, don't shop in every circumstance. It isn't always a fit. It may not be the route you need to go. There are lots of other resources. There's breed-specific rescues, but just don't rule out a breeder because other people have told you that breeding is horrible. It's not. Bad breeding is horrible, but breeding in general and breeding to the credibility of the breed and making it better, making it what it was always meant to be, and perhaps even improve on things that were prior issues. That's what responsible breeders do. They don't just throw two dogs together just to make puppies. So ask lots of questions, whether you're rescuing and planning on adopting or you go with a breeder, because there is no question that you shouldn't be asking if it's on your mind. Both breeders and rescues alike want to make sure that their dogs have long-term homes, not short-term homes, so don't be afraid to ask the questions that matter to you. In the end, everybody has the same goal. They want to find a long-term, stable home for this dog. Bottom line, if you're planning on adopting or you want to go through a breeder, What matters is that you can provide a stable, permanent home for this new dog. So once again, this is Victoria, your dog guru, and I'm hoping that you find your perfect match. Have a good day, everybody.